35 years ago, a human skeleton was found stuffed inside of a music store chimney, and that person was just identified last week. In September of 1989, owners of the Good and Loud music store in Madison, Wisconsin were removing the building's boiler when they looked through a pipe and they saw a human skull. Quickly, they see the rest of the skeleton and they notice that it's wearing a faded paisley dress along with an iron cross and shoes. An autopsy determined that the skeleton belonged to a thin male who was 5'7" and aged between 18 to 35 years old, and based off their findings, they noticed that the pelvis of the skeleton was also broken. Given this injury, paired with the fact that this male was wearing a dress, police assumed at the time that this must have been somebody who was an adult escort who may have surprised one of their clients, and that's why they ended up in a chimney once they realized that they were male. Or this could have been a hate crime of an individual who was wearing a dress just walking down the street and they were attacked. And for decades, the remains of this individual just sat on a shelf and were not identified until just last week. And that's because a detective named Lindsay Ludden asked her supervisors to be assigned to the case in 2018 after she observed other cold cases being revived with the use of updated DNA testing. Detective Ludden then sent strands of hair that were on the skeleton to the lab and then also looped in the DNA Doe Project, a group of volunteer genealogists who have helped solve more than 100 cold cases since 2017. Thanks to this collaboration, the skeletal remains of this victim were finally identified as Ronnie Joe Kirk of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he was born in 1942. As always, follow along if you're a fan of all things interesting and horrific.